Ever wonder how the most successful people on the planet manage to stay so incredibly focused? Even in a world that's built to distract you, it's not luck, it's not talent, it's a system. Every elite performer, whether it's an athlete, a CEO, an artist, or an entrepreneur, follows invisible patterns of focus that most people never notice. While the rest of the world drowns in noise, they build clarity. While others chase balance, they master rhythm. Because focus isn't about doing more, it's about doing one thing, deeply, deliberately, and consistently. In this series, we'll pull back the curtain on the focus systems of elite performers, the routines, psychological frameworks, and daily disciplines that separate world-class achievers from everyone else. We'll explore how they think, how they structure their days, and how they stay centered in the middle of chaos. This isn't motivation, it's mastery. And by the end of this, you'll have the blueprint to train your own mind to operate with the same clarity, presence, and momentum as the best in the world. Now, let's begin with the truth most people refuse to face about their focus. Chapter 1: The Focus Fallacy. Why multitasking fails. You've probably heard someone say, "I'm great at multitasking." They say it like a badge of honor, proof that they're efficient, capable, unstoppable. But here's the truth. No one truly multitasks. Not your brain, not mine, not even the best. The human brain doesn't do multiple complex tasks simultaneously. It switches, rapidly, repeatedly, between them. And every switch costs something. Each time you change focus, your brain pays a toll. Mental energy, attention residue, time. You lose depth, you lose momentum, and most dangerously, you lose presence. Neuroscientists call it context switching, and it's one of the most silent productivity killers of our generation. Imagine your mind as a spotlight. Every time you move that light, it takes effort to refocus. But when you keep it steady, it burns hotter, brighter, and deeper. Elite performers understand this instinctively. They know that scattered attention creates shallow results. So they build systems that protect their focus like a fortress. When NBA players train, they don't check their phones mid-practice. When authors write, they don't stop every 10 minutes to scroll. When CEOs plan their strategy, they shut out the noise completely. It's not about willpower, it's design. They've architected their days to eliminate unnecessary decisions, to protect their peak cognitive energy, and to enter the mental zone where real performance happens. Let's be honest, most of us live in distraction loops. We wake up to notifications, we chase pings, we reward ourselves with dopamine hits disguised as productivity. But here's what elite performers know. Your attention is your currency. Every click, every swipe, every tab open is a withdrawal from your mental bank. And once your focus balance runs low, creativity, decision-making, and emotional clarity collapse with it. That's why the first step to becoming laser-focused isn't adding more tasks. It's subtraction, removing what doesn't matter, cutting the noise, creating intentional silence so that what does matter can finally breathe. If you can master focus in a world that profits from your distraction, you've already joined the 1%. And that's where we go next, into the discipline that every elite mind lives by, the one that transforms average effort into exponential results. Chapter 2: The Deep Work Discipline. Ever felt like time just slipped through your fingers? You sit down to work, but hours later, you're somewhere else. Tabs open, messages pinging, attention frayed. That's not busyness, it's illusion. And beneath it lies a hidden truth. The sharpest minds don't chase more time. They engineer fewer distractions. Focus isn't found by chasing it, it's created. Deep work is the state where your mind turns into a laser, cutting through noise and producing output that changes everything. Every time you switch tasks, your brain resets. So the moment you think you're multitasking, your mental engine is stalling. When you're doing deep work, you don't just get things done, you evolve. You learn faster, create precisely, and build with impact. And this isn't accidental, it's intentional. You design rituals, boundaries, and environments so that deep work becomes the default mode, not the exception. Why most people don't do it? Because deep work demands sacrifice. It asks you to lock the door, physically or mentally. That means the phone goes silent, notifications stop, and the world fades away. Terrifying if you're used to constant noise. But the payoff? A mind that's calm, steady, and surgical in its precision. Picture an author in a quiet cabin, writing for hours, not because they can't be interrupted, but because they choose not to be. That's one form of deep work, isolated, focused, uninterrupted. Others choose rhythm, structured sessions, block after block. Some practice the journalistic style, slipping into focus whenever the moment allows. What they all share is intention. They don't wait for focus to find them. They create it. Designing your deep work session. Start with structure. Choose a space that signals focus. Set the rules. Commit to zero interruptions. Begin with a simple ritual, a deep breath, a cue, a clean desk. Then pick one high-value task, the one that moves the needle most. No background chatter, no open tabs, no scattered energy. Just one mission. Decide on your duration, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, and protect it fiercely. Your brain isn't designed for endless marathons. After 3 or 4 hours, focus naturally dips, so make it count. Measure what matters. Hours in deep focus, creative breakthroughs, tangible progress, not how many times you checked your inbox. The silent killers of focus. Notifications, meetings, open chats, every single one drains your attention in tiny, invisible cuts. And because it happens silently, you normalize it until your clarity feels fractured. The antidote is white space, scheduled silence, boundaries between effort and recovery, because deep focus thrives on contrast, the stillness between storms. Without rest, focus fades. With it, it flourishes. Deep work isn't just for the big moments. If you treat deep work as something reserved for rare breakthroughs, you limit its power. True mastery comes from embedding it into your daily rhythm. Small, consistent windows of deep focus, repeated. Over time, the compound effect is extraordinary. What once took a week begins to take a day. What once felt hard becomes habit. Eliminate the fluff. Batch the shallow work. Emails, messages, low-value tasks. Clear space for what matters most. Your move. Right now, identify your next deep work block. Put it on your schedule and guard it like a sacred appointment with your future self. When distractions knock, don't negotiate. Just whisper, "Not now." Let silence become your power. Let time stretch in your favor. Let your mind sharpen into a tool that cuts through chaos. Because elite performers don't chase focus. They cultivate it. They don't manage time. They master depth. And once you do that, everything changes. The noise fades, the work flows, and your potential finally steps into the light. Chapter 3: Strategic Energy Management, Not Time Management. You've heard it your whole life. Manage your time better. Plan your hours. Track your minutes. Squeeze productivity from the clock. But what if that's not the real secret? What if the top performers, the CEOs, the athletes, the creators who seem almost superhuman, aren't managing time at all? What if they're managing something far more powerful, their energy? Because time is equal. We all get 24 hours. But energy, that's the currency of mastery. And how you spend it determines how far you go and how clearly you think along the way. The myth of endless productivity. Here's the truth. You can't outperform your biology. You can hack your calendar, color code your schedule, drink all the caffeine you want, but if your energy is gone, you're just an exhausted machine trying to act human. Elite performers know this. They don't glorify grind. They glorify rhythm. They understand that success is built on cycles, expansion and recovery, focus and release. They treat their mind like an athlete treats the body. Rest isn't weakness, it's fuel. Without it, your best ideas die in the noise of fatigue. Understanding your natural rhythms. Your energy isn't linear. It's a wave. It rises, it dips, it renews. Biologically, you move through ultradian rhythms, 90-minute cycles of heightened focus, followed by a natural need for rest. Ignore those signals long enough, and your clarity begins to fracture. You start to force productivity instead of flowing with it. But those who master focus learn to surf the rhythm. They ride the wave of peak energy, then step back to recover, not because they're lazy, but because they're precise. Knowing when to push is power. Knowing when to pause is wisdom. The 3 core energies of focus. 1. Physical energy, the foundation. You can't focus in a body that's running on fumes. Sleep, movement, nutrition, these aren't just lifestyle tips, they're focus amplifiers. Sleep sharpens memory. Movement oxygenates the brain. Food either fuels cognition or fogs it. Elite focus starts before you ever sit down to work. It starts with how you wake, how you breathe, how you move. 2. Emotional energy, the filter. Ever notice how hard it is to focus when you're anxious or angry? Emotions either anchor your attention or scatter it. That's why emotional regulation is a focus skill. Ground yourself before you begin. Even a minute of stillness, a few slow breaths, can transform chaos into clarity. Focus doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. 3. Mental energy, the precision tool. Think of your mind like a lens. Every distraction smudges it. Every unfinished thought blurs it. Clean your mental lens daily, through journaling, meditation, or quiet reflection. The clearer your inner world, the sharper your outer results. The power of strategic recovery. The best don't rest by accident. They rest intentionally. They know recovery isn't the opposite of work. It's part of it. A mind in constant output mode loses depth, but a mind that knows when to recharge regains creativity, empathy, and sharpness. That's why top performers design micro-recovery rituals. A short walk after a meeting. 5 minutes of deep breathing between tasks. Silence before sleep. Tiny resets that restore immense energy. They don't wait for burnout to rest. They rest to prevent burnout. Your energy is your strategy. Look closely at your day. When are you naturally sharpest? Morning? Late evening? Mid-afternoon? That's your prime window. Build your most important work around that time. Protect it fiercely. Then use lower energy hours for administrative or routine tasks. This single shift, aligning work with your biological rhythm, can double your output without working longer. You're not lazy when you're tired. You're just misaligned. Eliminate the energy leaks. Every distraction, every unnecessary conversation, every moment spent in reactive mode leaks energy. And the more leaks you tolerate, the less clarity you have left for what truly matters. Audit your energy the same way you'd audit your finances. Who drains you? What drains you? Where does your focus disappear? Once you see the pattern, you can seal the leaks. Replace constant connectivity with conscious disconnection. Replace scattered to-do lists with focused intent. Replace guilt-driven busyness with energy-driven performance. The formula of sustained focus. Energy x direction equals impact. Without energy, direction fades. Without direction, energy is wasted. But when both align, you become unstoppable. This is why elite performers seem superhuman. They don't do more. They do what matters when their energy is at its peak. They understand that a single hour of focused, energized work beats an entire day of half attention. It's not about how long you work. It's about how alive you are while working. Your focus reset ritual. Before your next deep work session, take a deep breath. Feel your body tense, then release. Visualize the next 90 minutes as sacred space. Ask yourself, what deserves my full energy right now? Then begin with intention, with clarity, with rhythm. And when fatigue whispers, don't ignore it. Pause, step away, reset. The next round will be stronger because you honored your biology instead of fighting it. Final thoughts. Time management is about control. Energy management is about flow. And flow, that state where effort dissolves and focus sharpens, is where mastery lives. The greatest performers on the planet don't sprint endlessly. They cycle. Focus, release. Intensity, stillness, push, recover. And that rhythm doesn't make them slower. It makes them sustainable. So stop chasing the clock. Start mastering your current. Because when you learn to manage your energy, not your time, you stop surviving the day and start owning it. Chapter 4. Mindset and Mindfulness for Peak Concentration. There comes a moment in every performer's journey, a moment where strategy alone is no longer enough. You can have the perfect routine. You can optimize your environment, guard your time, manage your energy with precision, but if your mindset is fractured, if your inner world is chaotic, your focus will crumble the moment pressure hits. Elite performers understand something most people overlook. Focus isn't just a skill, it's a state of mind. And the stability of that state depends entirely on how you train your thoughts, regulate your emotions, and command your inner narrative. Focus is not found in the environment, it's built within. The inner landscape of focus. Your mind is a stage. Every day, thoughts enter and exit like actors. Some are loud, some are subtle, some help you, some distract you without mercy. And if you don't know how to manage those actors, you'll spend your life reacting, never leading. Most people believe focus is about forcing attention, but forcing is the enemy of clarity. True focus isn't pressure, it's presence. It's the ability to stay with one thought long enough for it to reveal something deeper. Mindset is what determines whether that presence feels effortless or impossible. The growth mindset, the anchor of mental stability. Elite performers share one psychological trait that separates them from everyone else. They believe they can grow deliberately, consistently, indefinitely. This belief becomes their mental armor. When a distraction appears, they don't spiral into frustration. When they struggle to concentrate, they don't label themselves as broken. When a challenge overwhelms them, they don't interpret it as failure, only feedback. A growth mindset transforms obstacles into data. It removes shame from the learning process. It reduces pressure and clears mental space. And the clearer your inner space, the sharper your focus. The power of mindfulness. Focus without force. Mindfulness isn't mysticism. It's mental conditioning. It's a daily practice of returning again and again to what matters. Most distractions are not external interruptions. They are internal reactions. Your mind drifts because it was never trained to stay. Mindfulness is that training. It teaches you how to sit with your thoughts without being hijacked by them. It strengthens the muscle of attention. It rewires the brain to remain in the present instead of racing toward imagined futures or replayed pasts. Elite performers use mindfulness the same way athletes use stretching, as a form of mental elasticity. It keeps attention flexible and responsive, not rigid and brittle. Breath, the hidden lever of concentration. If mindset is the anchor and mindfulness is the training, breath is the gateway. Your breathing controls your nervous system. Your nervous system controls your focus. When you breathe shallow and fast, your mind becomes scattered. When you breathe slow and deep, your brain shifts into clarity. This is why the greatest performers, from surgeons to athletes to negotiators, rely on breath as the first step in sharpening attention. It's a reset switch you carry everywhere. A single slow inhale can quiet the noise. A slow exhale can reopen mental space. Within seconds, your thoughts begin to align again. Breath is not just a physical action, it's a mental intervention. Becoming the observer, the key to distraction-proof focus. One of the most powerful mindset shifts is learning to observe your thoughts without becoming them. You're not the distraction. You're the awareness watching the distraction. Once you detach from every passing idea, every emotional wave, every intrusive memory, you gain the ability to choose where your attention goes instead of being pulled helplessly by whatever appears. The moment you become the observer, focus stops being a battle. It becomes a choice. The art of single-point attention. Imagine placing all of your attention on a single point, a sentence, a task, a goal, a problem. Not with tension, not with pressure, but with presence. This is single-point attention, and it is the foundation of elite focus. It trains your brain to ignore the noise. It strengthens your mental endurance. It creates a depth of concentration so intense that distractions lose their ability to tempt you. It's like tuning into one frequency in a world of static. The more you train this, the more naturally you slip into deep work, almost without effort, silencing the inner critic. One of the biggest destroyers of focus is not external noise, it's internal judgment. That subtle voice whispering, "You're not doing enough. You're behind. You're failing. You're wasting time." When your mind is fighting itself, clarity becomes impossible. Elite performers silence the critic not by arguing with it, but by replacing it with clarity. This is what I'm doing. This is why it matters. This is where I'm going. Focus thrives in certainty. It crumbles under self-doubt. Train your inner voice to support your direction. not sabotage it. Protecting mental space. The elite mindset ritual. Those at the top guard their mental environment the way a pilot guards the cockpit. They don't let every message, every headline, every opinion enter their mind. They curate what they consume. They select what they listen to. They choose who can influence them. They understand that your mental diet determines your mental clarity. If you let noise in, noise will own you. If you let negativity in, your thoughts become heavy. If you let comparison in, your focus dissolves. You can't achieve peak concentration in a polluted mind. Purify the environment, and attention becomes effortless. The alignment ritual. Before elite performers start a deep work session or step into a high-pressure moment, they align three things: their intention, their attention, their emotion. What am I doing? What deserves my focus? What state do I need to be in to do it well? When those three align, the mind becomes a laser. Distractions lose their grip, the task gains momentum, and flow becomes accessible. Alignment is not a luxury. It's a prerequisite for mastery. Final thoughts. Mindset and mindfulness aren't soft skills. They're performance tools. They determine whether your focus holds steady or collapses under pressure. And when you train your mind to be present, grounded, and supportive, your concentration becomes nearly unbreakable. The greatest performers don't just control what they do, they control what they think. They don't chase focus. They become the kind of person who naturally remains focused. And that transformation, internal, deliberate, disciplined, becomes the difference between ordinary results and extraordinary achievement. Chapter 5. Building your personalized focus system. Every elite performer has something the average person never develops: a focus system uniquely tailored to their mind, their energy, and their goals. Not a copied routine, not a borrowed productivity hack, not a trendy method someone swears will change your life. A system designed, tested, and refined to match the way they work best. Because peak focus is never one size fits all. The method that transforms someone else might feel unnatural to you. The schedule that fuels another person might drain your energy. Your performance rises when your system fits you, like a glove, not a prison. This chapter is about building that system, piece by piece, truth by truth, habit by habit. A system that doesn't crush your motivation, but amplifies it. A system that doesn't fight your nature, but works with it. Let's build it. The first pillar: know your peak performance window. Every human has natural peaks and valleys, moments of sharp clarity and moments where the mind drags like wet sand. Most people guess. Elite performers measure. Ask yourself, when do you feel the most mentally alive? Morning? Midday? Late night? Not when you wish you were productive, but when you actually are. Your focus system begins by honoring your biological truth. If your mind comes alive at 6 a.m., that's your power zone. If your best ideas appear at night, embrace it. If your clarity strengthens after movement, start your day with motion. You don't force focus into a dead zone. You schedule your most important work inside your natural peak. This alone can double your output. The second pillar: identify your focus triggers. Behind every moment of deep concentration, there is a trigger that activates it. For some, it's a clean workspace. For others, it's a specific scent, a certain playlist, a pre-work ritual, or a mental cue. Triggers prime your brain for performance. They tell your mind, it's time. This is how elite performers enter flow faster than others. They've trained their minds through repetition. Same ritual, same cue, same shift into clarity. Your system needs that kind of consistency. Pick a trigger and make it yours. A phrase you say to yourself, a short breathing pattern, a specific physical action, a particular environment. A 30-second reset before focus begins. When your brain recognizes the signal, it follows the path you've carved. The third pillar: build your environment with intention. You cannot expect elite focus in a chaotic environment. Your surroundings shape your attention more than you realize. The most successful performers don't rely on willpower. They design their environment so that focus becomes the easiest choice. Everything in your space should support your mind. Only what you need. Nothing that pulls your attention away. Elite performers create both a deep workspace and a shallow workspace, one for intensity and creation, one for casual tasks and routine work. When you step into the deep work zone, your brain enters a different mode. It learns that this environment means clarity, depth, and undivided focus. And with repetition, the environment becomes a silent partner in your productivity. The fourth pillar: the rhythm of work and recovery. Your mind is not a machine. It thrives on rhythm. Effort, recovery, effort, recovery. A personalized system honors this rhythm instead of fighting it. The most effective performers don't push endlessly. They push strategically. They understand that breaks aren't interruptions, they are fuel. They reset attention, restore clarity, prevent cognitive fatigue from destroying momentum. Every focus system needs a personalized pattern. Maybe you thrive in long, uninterrupted blocks. Maybe you focus best in shorter, intense bursts with micro breaks. Maybe you think better after movement. Maybe your clarity spikes after stepping outside. Your system should match your mind's natural cadence, not someone else's model. The fifth pillar: define the purpose behind the work. Focus dies when the purpose is unclear. Clarity thrives when the why is undeniable. Before every deep work session, the elite do something crucial. They define the target, not vague intentions, not loose aspirations. A single, clear objective. What outcome must happen by the end of this session? When your mind knows the destination, it moves with precision instead of hesitation. Without direction, your thoughts wander. With direction, your attention sharpens. Every session becomes a mission. Every mission becomes progress. Progress becomes momentum. And momentum is the engine of peak performance. The sixth pillar: remove friction before you begin. The biggest threat to focus isn't distraction, it's friction. Friction appears as not knowing where to start, having too many choices, beginning with confusion, tools scattered, information missing, unprepared environment, unclear priorities. Friction drains energy before you even begin. Elite performers eliminate friction in advance. They prepare their next move the day before. They organize tools ahead of time. They reduce complexity. They simplify decisions. When you remove obstacles before you begin, your focus has a clean runway, and your system becomes unstoppable. The seventh pillar: track, measure, refine. A personalized focus system isn't built once. It evolves. Elite performers track what works. They adjust what doesn't. They refine continuously. Ask yourself, which habits sharpened my clarity? Which drained me? Which rituals boosted momentum? Which environments disrupted it? What patterns do I notice in my best days? What patterns do I notice in my worst. This reflection transforms your system from guesswork into a science. Over time, you won't just improve your focus, you will master it. The real secret: your system must serve you. A great focus system doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like alignment. It doesn't restrict you, it supports you. It adapts to your life, your mind, your seasons, your goals. Because focus isn't about perfection, it's about consistency, direction, intentionality. Your system is the foundation that carries you forward when motivation fades. It's the structure that keeps your mind calm while the world demands more. It's the silent engine behind every high-level achievement. When you build it with intention, when you refine it with awareness, when you follow it with discipline, you stop chasing focus and start embodying it. Chapter 6. Energy Cycles of Elite Performers. There's a moment, right before you burn out, right before your brain fogs, right before your motivation collapses, when your body whispers the truth. Your problem isn't time. Your problem is energy. Elite performers understand something most people never notice. Success isn't built in the hours you work. It's built in the energy you bring into those hours. And if your energy is mismanaged, misaligned, or misunderstood, your focus collapses long before your ambition does. So in this chapter, we're going to step into the hidden world of performance cycles, the biological rhythms behind clarity, concentration, creativity, and consistency. The cycles elite performers ride like waves instead of fighting against them. The first truth: your energy is not linear. You are not a machine running at a steady 100% from morning to night. Your mind rises. It dips. It crashes. It resets. We often confuse lack of focus with lack of discipline. But many times, it's simply misaligned energy. Elite performers don't push through every hour. They protect, shape, and optimize the hours that matter. This is why they get more done in 2 hours than most people get done in 2 days. Ultradian rhythms, the 90-minute power window. Your brain operates in cycles known as ultradian rhythms, natural waves of heightened energy followed by physiological dips. Each cycle lasts around 90 minutes. During the peak phase of the cycle, your brain is charged. Focus sharpens, memory improves, creativity expands, distraction fades. But after the peak, there is a mandatory drop, a biological need for recovery. Most people fight the drop. Elite performers don't. They understand. You cannot sprint through an entire marathon, but you can sprint in structured intervals. And those intervals, those 90-minute cycles, form the backbone of elite focus systems. Why ordinary people burn out? Because they live in constant violation of their natural rhythms. They push when the brain is requesting recovery. They scroll during their peak focus window. They caffeinate to mask energy dips instead of working with them. Imagine a professional swimmer ignoring the rhythm of their breath, or a musician ignoring the rhythm of their song. That's what most people do with their energy. Elite performers do the opposite. They turn their rhythms into leverage. Morning peaks, the cognitive prime window. For many people, the first 2 hours after waking represent the highest mental clarity of the day, but only if used correctly. Elite performers guard this window like a fortress. No notifications, no chaos, no errands, no mental clutter. They place their most important work inside this prime cognitive window: strategy, planning, deep concentration, creative thinking. Because once this window is gone, it never returns in the same form. The midday slowdown. the dip that everyone misinterprets. At some point between late morning and early afternoon, everyone hits the same wall: mental fatigue, performance friction, reduced clarity. Most interpret it as failure, but elite performers know it's biological. The brain enters a replenishment mode, processing information, restoring neurotransmitters, stabilizing internal rhythms. Fighting the dip only amplifies exhaustion. Instead, elite performers align with it. They move into low-demand tasks. They take strategic walks. They hydrate. They breathe. They recover. Then, the second wind emerges. The afternoon second wind, the underrated productivity engine. Surprisingly, many elite performers do some of their best work in the late afternoon. Why? Because after the dip, the brain restabilizes. Your mind becomes grounded, calm, more solution-oriented. This window is ideal for problem-solving, decision-making, analysis, editing, meetings, structured thinking. It's not as creatively explosive as the morning, but it is deeply strategic. This is why top CEOs schedule critical decisions later in the day, not earlier. Evening creativity peaks when the rules change. Here's a surprising truth. For many people, creativity spikes at night. Not logic, not focus, not discipline, but pure creative flow. Why? Because the brain becomes more associative, less inhibited. Ideas connect more freely. Your internal critic relaxes. Elite performers use this wisely. They brainstorm. They reflect. They ideate. They think expansively. They don't try to do high-focus execution. They let imagination run. This is why some of the greatest innovators, writers, and founders prefer late-night creative sessions. Elite performers protect their energy sources. Peak focus isn't created during the day. It's created by how you recharge outside the day. Every elite performer optimizes four non-negotiable sources. 1. Sleep, the foundation of cognitive strength. Not just duration, but quality. Deep sleep resets your mind. REM sleep strengthens memory and learning. 2. Hydration, the quiet factor people underestimate. Just a 1% drop in hydration can reduce focus by up to 20%. 3. Nutrition, the real fuel for neural performance. Slow-burning foods sustain clarity. Sugars and junk destroy it. Emotional stability, the hidden performance multiplier. Stress fractures focus. Clarity thrives in emotional calm. Elite performers don't chase hype. They maintain internal equilibrium. The secret pattern: focus when you're high, recover when you're low. Here is the golden pattern the world's top achievers follow. Peak energy equals deep, demanding work. Low energy equals recovery, reflection, planning. Moderate energy equals strategic execution. This pattern works because it respects biology. It allows the mind to cycle between high-intensity cognitive work, low-intensity recovery, steady, controlled execution. This is why elite performers rarely burn out. They don't abuse their energy. They leverage it. Your next move: track your energy for 7 days. If you want to master focus, you must first master your rhythms. For 1 week, observe when your mind feels sharpest, when fatigue hits hardest, when creativity sparks, when execution feels easy, when attention collapses. Patterns will emerge. And when you understand these patterns, you can build your entire performance system around them, not forcing efficiency, but enabling it. Chapter 7. The Focus Rituals of High Achievers. before the world wakes up, before messages begin piling, before the noise finds you, there is a window, a sacred, quiet window that the highest performers on the planet guard with religious intensity. Because inside that window lies the truth about success. Your results are not determined by willpower. They are shaped by ritual. High achievers don't rely on motivation. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't hope that focus will magically appear. They engineer it. With rituals, precise, repeatable, powerful. And in this chapter, we step behind the curtain into the real routines that fuel the sharpest minds in the world. The rituals that don't just increase focus, they guarantee it. The first ritual. Control the first 5 minutes. High achievers know something most people forget. Your day doesn't begin when you wake up. Your day begins when your mind wakes up. And the first 5 minutes create the tone for everything that follows. Most people start their day by letting the world intrude. Notifications, noise, stress, urgency. Elite performers do the opposite. They start by taking control of their internal world before dealing with the external one. Those first 5 minutes might include deep, intentional breathing, a single clear goal for the day, a grounding thought, silence, reflection, a slow, deliberate pace. This isn't motivational fluff, it's neurological priming. When you begin in control, everything that follows becomes easier to command. The ritual of environmental precision. Elite performers design their environment with ruthless intention. Because they understand a simple truth: your environment shapes your behavior more than your motivation does. They clear visual noise. They eliminate unnecessary objects. They remove friction. Their workspace is not cluttered, it's engineered. The desk is clean. The tools are ready. The distractions are minimized. The lighting is intentional. The atmosphere invites depth. Because when your mind enters a space designed for focus, focus becomes natural. And when you enter a space designed for chaos, chaos becomes automatic. Environment is not decoration. Environment is strategy, the single objective ritual. One of the most powerful rituals high achievers use is shockingly simple. They choose one target, one task, one mission. Not 10, not 5, not 3, just one. The most essential one. They ask themselves, if I accomplish only one meaningful thing today, what must it be? And that becomes the North Star for the day. Why? Because focus dilutes with every additional priority. The mind performs best when it has a single, clear target to lock onto. This ritual has built empires, written bestsellers, launched companies, and sustained careers. One objective, executed with force. The ritual of time fortresses. High achievers don't try to find time, they build it. They carve out sacred blocks. Windows where the world is not allowed in. Phone off, notifications silent, doors closed, boundaries firm. These time fortresses are where elite performers do their deepest work. Inside these blocks, there is only focus, intention, creation, execution. No multitasking, no context switching, no random interruptions. They train their mind to associate these blocks with intensity, so the moment they enter them, focus automatically activates. This is conditioning. This is discipline. This is how champions think. The ritual of pre-focus transition. Most people try to jump straight into deep work from a distracted state, and then wonder why they can't concentrate. Elite performers do something smarter. They transition. They shift their brain from scattered to centered through short rituals such as a minute of slow breathing, a quick mind-clearing walk, a moment of silence, a brief stretching reset, a written intention, a calm reset before intensity. These small transitions act as mental bridges. They tell the mind, it's time. Enter the zone. Without this, most people carry mental noise into their work, and their performance collapses before they even begin. The ritual of micro wins. High achievers don't chase overwhelming momentum. They build it through repetition. They begin with a tiny, meaningful win, something that signals progress. A short review, a first sentence, a single organized file, a clear plan, a defined target. These micro wins are not trivial. They flip the brain into a forward-moving state. Momentum is psychological, and once it starts, it's difficult to stop. This is why elite performers begin with small wins. Not because they lack ambition, but because they understand human nature better than anyone. The ritual of intensity bursts. Rather than working in endless slow drips of attention, high achievers use concentrated bursts of effort. They enter periods of full focus immersion. No hesitation, no scattering, no divided attention. Their mind is fully engaged. Their energy is fully deployed. Their awareness sharpens, and everything else fades into the background. This intensity is not sustainable for the entire day, but in short bursts, it is transformational. It allows elite performers to accomplish massive progress in a fraction of the time others spend. Deep immersion, short windows, repeat. That's the formula. The ritual of strategic pauses. Elite performers take breaks with intention, not random distractions, not avoidance, not procrastination. Pauses, short resets that allow the mind to replenish, small recovery windows that restore clarity, creativity, and stamina. These pauses are not weakness. They are part of the rhythm. Because focus is a wave. It rises and falls, and those who ride it win. The ritual of end-of-day closure. Before they end their day, elite performers don't simply stop working. They close their day, they review what was done, they acknowledge progress, they clarify the next step. They set the tone for tomorrow. This closure ritual prevents mental residue, the unfinished loops that drain energy and disrupt sleep. By closing their day deliberately, they begin the next day with clarity instead of chaos. The final ritual. Identity integration. For elite performers, focus is not an event, not a task, not a technique. It is part of who they are. They adopt the identity of someone who focuses deeply, someone who commits, someone who follows through, someone who executes with intention. Their rituals reinforce their identity, and their identity reinforces their rituals. This is how they create consistency, not through force, but through alignment. Chapter 8. The Hidden Psychology of Distraction. Before we talk about eliminating distraction, we need to understand one truth. Distraction is not the enemy. Distraction is the message. It's a signal, a symptom, a mirror, reflecting what's unsettled inside you. Most people think distractions happen to them, but high performers know distractions happen because of them, because of what they fear, because of what they avoid, because of what they haven't addressed emotionally, mentally, or strategically. This final chapter is where we step into the deepest layer of focus, the psychology beneath your attention, the quiet forces shaping your behavior, the inner patterns pulling you away from clarity. the invisible triggers that dictate whether you rise or drift. Let's pull the curtain back. The biology of escape. When you feel overwhelmed, when a task feels too big, when uncertainty feels uncomfortable, your brain does something predictable. It reaches for escape, not because you're weak, but because your brain is wired to avoid discomfort and seek relief instantly. That's why reaching for your phone feels automatic, why checking a random notification feels tempting, why your mind wanders even when your goals matter. Your brain is not sabotaging you, it's protecting you, just in the wrong direction. To master focus, you must master this instinct, not by suppressing it, but by understanding it. The emotional roots of distraction. Every distraction is tied to an emotion, not boredom, not laziness, not randomness, emotion. Anxiety pulls you towards scrolling. Self-doubt pulls you away from starting. Fear of failure pulls you toward busy work instead of depth. Perfectionism keeps you trapped in overthinking. Burnout drags your mind into autopilot. Distraction is never about the thing distracting you. It's about the feeling you're avoiding. And once you understand that, you stop fighting the surface and start working at the source. The reward trap. Why your brain loves noise. Your brain is addicted to novelty. Every new notification, new message, new video triggers a small spike of dopamine, a chemical reward that feels good for a moment but destroys long-term focus. High performers know this, and they use it to their advantage. Instead of letting their brain chase dopamine, they design their environment so dopamine chases productivity. Small wins, clear checkpoints, meaningful progress. This rewires pleasure away from distraction and toward achievement. The myth of willpower. Many people believe they can overcome distractions by trying harder. But here's the truth. Willpower is not a long-term strategy. It's a short-term spark. It fades, it weakens, it gets tired. Even elite performers don't rely on it. They succeed because they understand a deeper truth. People don't rise to the level of their motivation. They fall to the level of their systems. Distraction wins when systems fail. That's why in earlier chapters we built rituals, structure, energy cycles, and identity. But there's still one more piece, the unconscious layer, internal conflicts, the silent enemy of focus. What happens when your conscious goals and your subconscious beliefs do not match? Distraction. If a part of you wants success, but another part fears it, you'll find yourself sabotaging your own progress without even realizing it. If a part of you wants to move forward, but another part feels unworthy, you'll seek small escapes instead of big action. Distraction is not random. It's conflict, and high performers resolve that conflict by aligning their identity with their goals. They choose who they must become, and then they act from that identity consistently. Distraction as a diagnostic tool. Instead of resisting distraction, elite performers examine it. They ask, what is this pulling me away from? What emotion am I trying to avoid? What truth am I not facing? Every distraction contains data, fear, insecurity, boredom, exhaustion, pressure. This data is valuable. It reveals where the real work should begin. High performers use distraction as a diagnostic tool, not a failure. The magnetic pull of purpose. One thing dissolves distraction faster than discipline: a meaningful mission. When your goals are vague, distraction feels powerful. But when your purpose is sharp, distraction becomes weak. You don't need to force focus when your vision is emotionally compelling. Purpose creates gravity. It pulls you forward. It strengthens your attention. It sharpens your decisions. People with purpose can focus for hours. People without it struggle for minutes. If your focus is weak, don't start with discipline. Start with meaning. The identity of someone who cannot be distracted. Here is the final transformation, the shift that separates average performers from elite ones. High achievers don't ask, "How do I stay focused?" They ask, "Who is the person I must become?" The identity of someone who values clarity, protects their mind, honors their time, controls their environment, thinks long-term, builds systems, keeps promises to themselves. When you adopt this identity, distraction no longer feels appealing. It feels out of character. This is the deepest level of mastery. Not behavior, not technique. Identity. Your final shift. As we close this final chapter, there is one truth you must carry forward. Focus isn't something you practice. It's something you become. You now understand the rituals, the systems, the psychology, the inner mechanics that shape the world's most focused minds. But knowing is not the end. Becoming is. Your focus system begins now. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. You have the tools. You have the clarity. You have the blueprint. And most importantly, you have the ability to rewrite your internal world so distraction no longer controls your external one. This is your edge. This is your shift. This is the beginning of your transformation into an elite performer with unstoppable focus.